Alright. It's been a long day. I think it's time to sit back and relax a little bit. Make a top 10 Shovel Knight bosses video. Do it. I dare you. And if you don't, let's just say your Christmas miracle this year won't be so fantastic. That sounds oddly threatening. I'm just gonna go to sleep.
I love oddly threatening letters. They really make me invigorated and I want to make stuff now. I should make a top 10 Shovel Knight boss battles video. Man, I'm so smart.
Yo everybody, my name is Kaspi, and Shovel Knight has consistently been one of my favorite games for some time. If I had beaten it until now. In spite of my love for its visuals, music, and gameplay, I never got around to beating it. But I did beat this. But now, after deciding to do a top 10 favorite bosses from this game specifically, I've beaten the main game along with its DLC to determine this topic once and for all. Maybe. Until I change my mind and then realize one of the bosses is actually not that great. Let's get into it! Rules first, however. First off, I'm only considering Shovel Knight and its DLC. No Pocket Dungeon or Dig. Secondly, and more importantly, if I include a boss that features in multiple campaigns, only one iteration can make it onto the list. I have to determine which one I find best to be included onto the list itself.
Get on with it, loser.
Yeah, fine, whatever.
But first, quickly, I just want to talk about... I said get on with it, loser. Yeah, but I have to warn the people about spoilers. So anyway, spoilers that... God damn it!
I've gotta admit something. So far I've only beaten Shovel of Hope and Spectre of Torment. Yeah, only 2 of the campaigns. That's because I'm not actually a particularly huge fan of how Plague Knight plays, and I don't really like King of Hearts as a whole. This entry is for Plague of Shadows, in particular, because they did one of the most creative things for this one. The plot of Plague of Shadows goes parallel to the main story, and thus when we enter the Explodatorium, which is usually Plague Knight stage, you would wonder what boss fight this area could possibly have. Well, it uses the fact that it's set side by side with the main game by making you fight yourself, technically. Actually, fighting our trowel-wielding friend isn't the hardest thing in the world. However, he will use his abilities you gain from the main game, like the Anchor Thing or the Zelda Flare Wand. But it very quickly ends as we explode this blue motherfucker. But hey, it's a great fight that I massively enjoyed. Yet again, I've got to admit something. I haven't beaten King of Cards either. I did say that in the previous entry, didn't I? Oh well. I still felt like I should include a boss from it, and decided on the first really big one. Literally.
The King of Castle Pridemore is dead. Run. How do you open doors? How do you open...
The King of Pridemore is featured in the original as an NPC who wants his castle back. Well, here we see how King Knight got the castle in the first place, by fighting the king in a mech. The King Knight's shoulder bash makes this fight a little tricky, as you have to first bash into his impenetrable armor, to then bounce on his head, dodging his attacks. He has his own shoulder bash, he's got some hops, and a scepter he tries to thwack you with. I, of course, could never get hit, because I am amazing. I hate everything.
My ambitions of flying are not coming along well.
When it came to which Propeller Knight fight to use, it was pretty obvious to me. Propeller Knight is already my favorite of the characters to begin with. However, with the addition of jumping up the platforms and trying to find openings to attack the titular knight with a propeller hat, this fight really ups the ante. The main thing bringing it down is that it is a bit easy in spite of the platforming. It feels a tad basic comparatively. This fight is also the sole reason the stage has nothing to do with the fight. Fuck this stage. Fucking wind! Oh well, I did beat it in the end, so Propeller Knight, thanks for a good fight, and I hope you die again, and again, and again, for your stage. A while back I played through a little bit of Super Castlevania 4. It's one of the best 2D platformers on the SNES, which says a lot considering the amount of absolute classic 2D platformers. Simon Belmont's weapon of choice is also a unique one, making him a great fighter in Smash Bros. And creating fun gameplay in the main series. If only there was a Whip Knight. We get close though. Battle! Not quite the right name, but Baz Knight is one of the wandering fights. Fights on the overworld map that are generally optional. You can sometimes get forced into fighting them, but I enjoy them all. My very favorite here is Baz. His whip, as I already spent too much time explaining, makes for a great, unique moveset. He uses his whip to block your pogas, swings around the battlefield, and uses the power of Thunder and Lightning to power up his attack. And plot-wise, he's interesting as well, the first one to take this into account. He desperately wants to become part of the Order of No Quarter, to the point of becoming a little crybaby. So, he wishes death to the shoveliest of knights to prove himself worthy. Of course, it's no use! And we kick his ass.
Wah, 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 I'm a little baby loser. Shut up, bro. Just fucking grow up, bro.
In one of the villages, you can find a hat store. When you buy out the store and get the other customers to leave the owner, Mr. Hat, well, he wants to get your hat. At any cost.
No!
Mr. Hat is quite enthralled by hats and fights you to the death over yours. His fight is interesting as well. He uses different hats for different attacks.
Yeah.
He uses cane in various ways and has various attacks and various projectile attacks too.
I'm saying various quite a lot.
It's a ton of fun to fight and, of course, quite funny.
It makes me go very ha-ha.
So as a whole, fun fight, funny fight, and a good fight.
Take off the hats, it looks dumb.
Somehow this feels more right than the actual theme for Tinker Knight. Tinker Knight's fight is one that any fan of his game will tell you is one of the most unique, if not one of the best. The fight starts off being relatively easy and ends just like that. Yeah, that was easy. Oh, it's a mech, Jesus Christ. Then in the Spectre of Torment version, you auto-scroll as you try to kill this son of a bitch with small little hitbox. Oh my god. The juxtaposition of this tiny little guy and his giant mech is actually pretty funny, and makes for a challenging fight. The reason I chose the Spectre of Torment version in particular is due to the first phase being slightly more challenging with more wrenches, faster movement, and a big spiky wall to dodge. But that's it mainly. I'm a fan of this fight and stuff. Hey, remember when I made a boss battles list and I put Spectre Knight as my choice for a Shovel Knight boss? Yeah, no, he's not number 1 anymore, I'm sorry.
Make up your damn mind.
I'll try my best not to mix up him and Plague Knight. For some reason I mix them up a lot because I'm stupid. Spectre Knight, as mentioned, used to be my favorite for a variety of reasons. His imposing design, cool weapon of choice, ghosty, ghouly movements, and so much more. His music is also fantastic, as you can probably hear. My only complaint is that he can be a little too easy. He has very few moves, but that's fine since it's all fun, cool, and stuff. It makes sense as well considering he is a very early boss. His backstory as shown in the DLC is also quite tragic. He doesn't even want to be in the Order of Absolutely Zero Quarters, and just had to for some reason. I forgot. It's been a while since I played it now. Yeah, still a big fan, but I'm a bigger fan of these next ones. I'm sorry.
Doctor's note. Oh hey, I know a doctor. Stop having shitty opinions,
Now time for the actual Plague Knight. I'll hopefully not fuck up the name of this one, either. This fight is at the end of the level with the best name, the Explodatorium. Explosions are cool, okay? And that's Plague Knight's whole thing. He'll jump around the arena throwing tonics that explode, creating big jugs that explode when he hits them, and so on and so forth.
So basically, he's a doctor holding a big bottle of tonic, but the bottle's full of rings, and the doctor races like night.
If you get that reference, you're pretty neat. And if you don't get it, get good. It's a relatively challenging fight with all of his jumpy antics, and for that, I applaud it. That's it, really. A fun fight that's fairly challenging. As a Norwegian, I must admit, it's a Viking and I'm weak. Pulling out with my example in my previous boss battles video as my old favorite, and as said, I'm weak. And it's become one of my favorites anyways. Screw you. Specifically the Spectre Knight version of the fight, simply for the ice pillars that make it slightly harder, and that means it's better in my eyes, since admittedly it does kind of stink in the original. It's pretty easy. But what's the fight actually like? Well, first and foremost, pogoing is basically a no-go, since he puts his huge snow shovel above his head, which creates for a dynamic only seen here and with the previously mentioned Bastion. As far as I'm aware, there might be more. Secondly, he removes some of the ground, which reveals a layer of insta-kill spikes under it. So you gotta jump precariously to avoid them before you can actually murder him in cold blood. And I mean cold blood. God, I am stupid.
Stop having honorable mentions, just make a top 15 or something. It's fucking dumb and useless. No!
There were some tough cuts to this list, I'll admit, but here are a mere taste of them. The Hall of Champions Ghost was the last cut I made. It was super close, but even with its cute gimmick, it's still easy as hell and kinda spammy. Fun fight though, and I like that it sort of represents the Kickstarter backers, because, you know, it's in the Hall of Champions, where the Kickstarters are. Some of them, I don't know. Spectre Knight's fight in King of Cards has a similar charm to the Shovel Knight fight, since it's the version of him you play as in the DLC. I simply prefer the King Pridemore fight and the Shovel Knight fight, so I didn't include him. Shield Knight is a character I didn't expect to fight, but man was it a neat bit of backstory, as well as a decent fight. And lastly, a couple of Black Knight fights. The final one in Shovel of Hope is super neat lore-wise, and the ones in Spectre Torment has a turtle.
Explains itself, really.
Wouldn't it be so stereotypical for me to include the final boss in the final spot? Yeah, I did that. You can't really stop me.
What a basic choice. The final boss at first place. What a fucking loser. Yeah, I am a fucking loser, but it's a good fight. Listen here, bucko. I'm scared.
Is it kind of a basic choice? Probably. But is it the right choice? I don't know. It's my list. I make the rules. So yeah, everything about this fight is fantastic. It has two phases, it destroys my heart with the story, and has a fun mechanic of bouncing off of Shield Knight's shield. The Enchantress, as she's called, is not the hardest boss of all time, but man, is it a fun one. Just bouncing up there, getting a few hits, and then dodging attacks in the gaps of the floor that appear. But let's keep this section short. Just know that the fight is fantastic, and the game is fantastic, and go play it right now. It's a great bookend to this fantastic game that I recommend you all play.
Okay, that's the end of the video. It's the end of the list. I'm expecting another letter. I'm right. Kill yourself. Okay, who's sending me these letters anyways?
Me?
How long have you been down there?
The entire time, you dumbass.
How the fuck haven't I noticed you?
You're just like really blind. Like one time I was right in front of you and you couldn't see me.
Why are you sending me these letters anyways?
I don't know, take this one. Ugh. Damn, gruesome death. So now it's my time to talk about Hot Dog Night.